Bleach meets Naruto, the mad scientist who revolutionized shinobi warfare. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 1. Awakening of Tsukuku, Kurotsuchi Mayuri template. Konoha, 38 years. In the meeting hall of the Nara clan. All the Nara clan members gathered here. Not because of something big, nor because of a fixed clan meeting time, but because of a 6-year-old boy in the family. Is it him? Yes, Nara Shintaku, 6 years old, just graduated. Do you believe that he developed a new technique at this age? I don't believe it. 6 years old, he hasn't even learned the shadow imitation technique, right? Alas, children nowadays learn to lie at a young age. Countless people's eyes secretly fell on a boy in front. This child named Nara Shintaku claimed to have developed a new shadow secret technique with excellent practical effects. So the elders gathered the clan members. Decided to demonstrate it in public. If he was 16, I would believe it a little bit. Yeah, he's only 6, that's a stretch. It's probably a way for a child to attract the attention of adults. He lost both his parents when he was young, so this child must have had a hard time. But lying is wrong. If he has any innovation, I will directly regard it as a new technique. Countless eyes fell on Nara Shintaku. No one believed it. Developed a new shadow secret technique at the age of 6. Why didn't you say that Uchiha Madara is not dead and is secretly preparing a conspiracy to overthrow Konoha? Everyone looked at Nara Shintaku with eyes that were watching a good show. At this time, Nara Shintaku, who was being looked at by countless eyes, had a calm expression, and his eyes revealed a maturity far beyond his age. Nara Shintaku is not from this world. He came from Blue Star in his previous life, and was transported to the Hokage world. He only recovered all his memories more than a month ago. As his memory awakened, his cheat also awakened. Evil Scientist template loading complete. Current template, Kurotsuchi Mayuri, development progress, 1%. Note, when the template development reaches 100%, the next Evil Scientist template will be opened. Kurotsuchi Mayuri, the mad scientist of the Shinigami world, did not rely on Zanpakuto, but on the development of new technologies to reach the finale. Nara, who got the template, also got the talent and inspiration of Kurotsuchi Mayuri. He easily developed a new shadow secret technique. It is called Shadow Curse Binding Technique. It is a combination of shadow imitation technique and curse seal, just like doing multiplication, which can achieve amazing results. Of course, this technique is just something made casually to get rid of the Nara clan. The real purpose is to let the Nara clan do it for him. Since everyone is here, let's start. A voice suddenly sounded. Nara's thoughts were interrupted. He didn't care, stopped thinking, and stood up. Opposite. A 16-year-old Nara Chunin also stood up. This was the person who was going to demonstrate the new technique to Nara Chunin. The two walked to the center of the meeting hall. They stopped 5 meters apart. Let's start, Chunin. An elder spoke. Nara Chunin nodded and began to make seals with both hands. 5 seals. There were very few, and they were highly similar to the shadow imitation technique. Shadow imitation technique? No, more new seals have been added. What's the point of adding ninja seals? Imitation technique is a very complete technique. Yeah, the meaning is unclear. Let's take a look first. Many people around shook their heads. Nara Aoki on the opposite side also had a flash of disappointment in his eyes. However, he didn't say anything. Ninjutsu, Shadow Curse Binding Technique. Nara Chunin completed the seals slowly, refined chakra, and performed the ninjutsu. Under the effect of the technique, his shadow stretched forward like a rope. 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters. The shadow extended 4 meters, and then stopped powerlessly. But he was 5 meters away from Nara Aoki. It couldn't touch Nara Aoki at all. Is that it? It's meaningless if it can't touch people. What's the use of the added ninja seal? It's no different from the shadow imitation technique. Doubtful voices rang out around. The elders above. Seeing this, they also opened their mouths and wanted to say something. Snap. At this moment, Nara Shintaku's shadow suddenly exploded. The dark shadow instantly turned into dozens of fragments, flying towards Nara Aoki in front of him like ink. What? Nara Aoki was shocked and hurriedly covered his vitals with both hands. The exploded shadow ink splashed all over him. No damage? Nara Aoki was stunned for a moment, and the imagined damage did not appear. But the next moment, Aoki was surprised to find that he could not move. He looked down, his expression was stunned. The ink on his body formed dark lines, like chains, imprinted on his body surface. Is this Curse binding, Nara said in surprise. The Nara tribesmen around him had already stood up in shock. Adding curse binding to shadow mimicry? A genius idea. So those additional seals are for this. Great, shadow mimicry can be changed to this. This technique is extremely valuable in practical combat. Everyone's attitude changed. Episode 2, the blood-moving suit and the blood-stationary suit in the Hokage world. In the field, Nara quickly broke free from the curse. But no one underestimated the value of this technique. Imagine that in the battle, someone has accurately timed your shadow imitation technique, and when you are complacent, suddenly you come with this, which can kill the enemy 100%. At the same time, this explosion. In disguise, it increases the range of influence of the shadow secret technique. The Nara clan can play with it. This technique has the effect of first sight killing. If used well, it can instantly suppress a small team. It's better with the shadow seam technique. Even if it's a genin, there is a chance to kill a jonin unexpectedly. The lethality of the shadow secret technique has been greatly increased. Everyone's eyes were burning, staring at Nara Shintaku. Facing the burning eyes of everyone, Nara Shintaku's expression was calm. He took out a scroll and threw it to the elders, saying, "This is the practice method of the technique just now." The elders took it in a hurry and couldn't wait to open it. They passed it around one by one. Everyone who read it was amazed and admired Nara's ingenious ideas. Not long after, all the Nara tribe members present passed it around. Ding dong, host spreads new ninjutsu, shadow curse binding technique, template progress improved, current progress, 2%. Nara was startled, and then he began to think. Can spreading improve progress? That makes sense. It is meaningless to block the new technology that has been developed. It can only play its value if it is spread. Nara nodded. At the same time, the elders present gathered together and discussed for a while. They quickly reached a consensus. Masahiro, this technique is of great value. You are willing to make it public to the family. All Nara ninjas want to thank you. Your contribution is huge. We have unanimously decided to open all the ninjutsu scrolls in the family collection to you, and give you shares in the family's medicine business, at least 100,000 taels per month. Whatever you need, we will also do our best to collect it for you. The elders looked at Nara Masahiro with burning eyes, as if they were looking at a rare treasure. It's not easy for the Nara family to produce a genius. They have to be trained well. Of course, the previous promise is still valid. An elder suddenly remembered something and added, "We will contact Orochimaru later." Okay. Nara Masahiro nodded, with a gleam in his eyes. He didn't care about the above conditions, such as developing scrolls and dividends. He only cared about one thing. That was the agreement with the family elders. If he could develop a new shadow secret technique, the family would help him contact Orochimaru to get a chance to meet Orochimaru alone. This is Nara's purpose. Shadow curse binding technique is just a product he developed casually. When he obtained the Kurotsuchi Mayuri template, he obtained a more important piece of knowledge: static blood suit. Dynamic blood suit. But that is the technology of the Shinigami world. To change to the ninjutsu of the Hokage world, Nara needs help. And developing new ninjutsu and spreading this ninjutsu will help improve the progress of the template and gain new knowledge. This is a virtuous circle. I'll wait for your good news, Nara said, and then turned and left. All the tribesmen were stunned. Just leave like that? They were going to continue to talk to Nara about the shadow curse binding technique. This is the genius. Geniuses are always lonely. Don't worry, let Nara do whatever he likes. Yes, let's contact Orochimaru quickly. Everyone could only smile bitterly at Nara's departure. Geniuses always have privileges. Leave the meeting hall. Nara Shintaku returned home, took out a blank scroll, picked up a pen and started writing. Static blood suit. Dynamic blood suit. He wrote down the ideas of dynamic blood suit and static blood suit, but it was not the blood suit of the Shinigami world, but the blood suit of the Hokage world. Nara Shintaku spent a month. He completely modified the framework of the blood suit, changing it from a technique using spirit particles to a unique ninjutsu using chakra. This is what he will show Orochimaru later. It is the bait he used to lure Orochimaru into the game. Orochimaru at this time has seen through the darkness of Konoha, is disappointed with the third Hokage, and has developed a desire to pursue a technique. Nara Shintaku is not afraid that Orochimaru will not fall into the trap. You can't refuse the blood suit technique. Nara Shintaku smiled. I also need someone to help me fill the framework of the blood suit with bones and flesh and blood. Although he has obtained the inspiration and talent of Kurotsuchi Mayuri. But he lacks the knowledge of ninjutsu in the Hokage world. Just as a good cook cannot cook without rice. Nara Shintaku needs someone who has a lot of knowledge of ninjutsu to help him perfect the blood suit technique thoroughly. Done. Nara Shintaku finished writing the idea of blood suit, put it on the table, and waited for the ink to dry. He looked out the window. The elders have gone out and headed to the Hokage building. Soon, Orochimaru will arrive. Episode 3, Orochimaru, you'll like this jutsu, Hokage's office. Meet Orochimaru alone? Okay. Since you all said so, how could I not agree? After listening to the request of the Nara, the third Hokage readily agreed. The clan leader and elders came to ask him in person, and with his relationship with the Ino-Shikacho family, this request could not be refused. You go back and wait, it should be quick. The third Hokage said. The Nara bowed and left. A moment later. Orochimaru, who received the message from Umbu, appeared in the office. What do you want to talk to me about, teacher? Orochimaru asked with a cold face and a hoarse voice. The Nara clan asked me to have a 6-year-old child. They want to meet you alone. The third Hokage said with a smile, the name is Nara Shintaku. Orochimaru frowned slightly, meet me? I guess they want to worship you as their master. After all, you haven't accepted any disciples for so many years. The third Hokage said, waving his hand, but don't force it, just go and see it. Their clan leader and elders just came to ask me in person, and I really can't refuse. Really? Orochimaru chuckled. He became curious instead. The Nara clan would know what kind of personality he has. But he still asked the third Hokage to ask him to meet a 6-year-old child. So, is there anything special about this child? Okay, I'll go. Orochimaru nodded. Thank you. The third Hokage said. Orochimaru left the office. Not long after. Outside the Nara clan, Orochimaru appeared. He was respectfully invited in by the Nara tribe and was led to an ordinary house. Is this the place? Orochimaru looked around the house and knocked on the door. Dong dong. The door opened. A 6-year-old boy appeared in front of him. You just want to see my Nara Shintaku? Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and looked at the boy. Yes. Nara Shintaku nodded calmly and made a gesture of invitation. Please come in, Lord Orochimaru. Orochimaru looked at Nara Shintaku with interest and walked into the house. Bang. The door was closed. The Nara tribe outside showed nervous expressions. Some even clenched their fists. Inside the house. Orochimaru glanced around casually, then retracted his gaze, looked at Nara Shintaku indifferently, and said, Tell me, why do you want to see me? I hope you have some interesting reasons, not boring things. Nara Shintaku did not speak, but handed out a scroll. Orochimaru raised his eyebrows, took the scroll and started to read it. Blood suit. At this, Orochimaru's expression changed, completely losing his casualness just now, and became serious. He read line by line, and the more he read, the more surprised he was. What a wonderful idea. By injecting chakra into the blood, relying on blood circulation, flowing throughout the body, thus building an invisible armor in the body. And because blood vessels are a closed system of the human body, chakra is not easy to dissipate. Once this technique is activated, it can be maintained for a long time. Stationary blood suit, dynamic blood suit, 1 attack and 1 defense? Orochimaru's eyes lit up with surprise. He looked at Nara Shintaku in surprise and said, What an amazing idea and creativity, did you come up with this? Yes. Nara Shintaku nodded. So, you came to me to perfect this technique? Orochimaru asked thoughtfully. Yes, I got the framework, but I lack enough ninjutsu knowledge to fill it out. Nara Shintaku replied. I see. Orochimaru muttered. His heart was in turmoil. In his opinion, this technique was at least A-level in difficulty. Has Nara Shintaku come up with an A-level ninjutsu at the age of 6? This talent is simply a monster. Orochimaru was moved. Since Nawaki's death, he had the idea of taking a disciple for the first time. But Orochimaru narrowed his eyes, he looked at Nara Shintaku with a calm expression, the child did not admire him at all. More like discussing ninjutsu with him in an equal manner. The pride of a genius? It's understandable, any of these 2 blood suits is at least A-level in difficulty. If I had come up with an A-level ninjutsu when I was 6 years old, I would not take others seriously. Orochimaru chuckled in his heart. Nara Shintaku's attitude was more to his taste. Compared with taking a disciple, he hoped to meet a fellow ninjutsu researcher. This technique involves the circulation in the human body, and requires a knowledgeable medical ninja to participate in the filling, otherwise it is difficult to find a safe way to practice. Orochimaru also changed his attitude, and his tone was as if he was facing a peer, thinking about it. Nara Shintaku glanced at him and smiled, "Don't you have an acquaintance who is just right?" "Indeed, Tsunade is very suitable to participate." Orochimaru smiled and nodded, "I will convince her, maybe I can start working tomorrow." "Okay," Nara Shintaku said concisely. Orochimaru couldn't help but be surprised. This kid, how can he have the temperament of a researcher more than him? No nonsense, clean and neat. Pursue efficient work efficiency. Episode 4, Tsunade, join us, I really want to take you as my apprentice. Orochimaru looked at Nara and licked his lips. But he quickly dismissed the idea. Firstly, Nara didn't have this idea. He and the third-generation teacher had guessed wrong. Nara was simply attracted by his knowledge and invited him to develop new techniques. Secondly, Orochimaru also enjoyed the feeling of equal communication. He didn't want a disciple, he wanted a like-minded fellow traveler. Without further delay, I'll go find her now. Orochimaru also showed an efficient work attitude and said, "Take this scroll back for me to study, you take it away. If you understand the framework I wrote in advance, it will help with the subsequent improvement." Nara nodded. "Okay." Orochimaru didn't waste any words, put away the scroll, turned around and walked out of the house. He was going to find Tsunade immediately to finalize the research together. Nara politely sent him away. Outside the house, Orochimaru strode out, nodded to the Nara tribe outside, and left without looking back. The Nara tribe members were disappointed. Failed? Alas, Lord Orochimaru is still unwilling to accept disciples. We can only find another teacher. What a pity, Lord Orochimaru is the most suitable teacher for Shintaku. They also had the same idea as the third Hokage. Nara Shintaku wants to worship Orochimaru as a teacher. If this can succeed, it will be a great thing for the Nara clan. But unfortunately, it seems that there is no hope. Orochimaru only stayed for a few minutes and left. If he really succeeded in becoming a disciple, he would definitely not be so fast. Hokage office. The third generation received Umbu's report and was surprised. Did Orochimaru stay for 3 minutes and then leave directly? It seems that it didn't work. What a pity. The third Hokage shook his head regretfully. This child named Nara Shintaku failed to impress Orochimaru. But no one knows. After Orochimaru left, he returned to his home and spent an afternoon reading the blood-covered scroll repeatedly, thoroughly understanding the idea of this technique. Then, he went to the Senju clan and found Tsunade, who was drinking. "Orochimaru?" Tsunade opened his drunken eyes and asked in confusion, "What do you want to talk to me about?" As he spoke, a strong smell of alcohol emanated. The whole room was filled with the smell of alcohol. "There is a technique that I think you will be interested in." Orochimaru ignored the smell of alcohol and said with a smile. Nawaki, Uzumaki Mido, Kidō Dan, 3 important people passed away one after another. Tsunade suffered a huge blow. Every day he indulged in alcohol and numbed himself with alcohol. "Shu?" Tsunade laughed and shook her head, saying, "I'm not you. I'm not interested in studying ninjutsu." "I know." Orochimaru nodded, and then said, "But I think you should take a look." He took out a blood-covered scroll and placed it in front of Tsunade. "Why?" Tsunade raised her eyebrows in confusion. "This is a very special shoe. I think it will be helpful for what you are studying now." Orochimaru replied with a smile. Hearing this, Tsunade became curious. Although she indulged herself, she did not give up on herself completely. Recently, she is studying sealing techniques and medical ninjutsu, trying to find a way to a higher realm. "Okay, I'll take a look." Tsunade scratched her head and picked up the scroll. She flipped through it casually. After just a few glances, her originally careless expression immediately became surprised. "Blood-covered?" Tsunade looked at the description above in horror. "Injecting chakra into the blood vessels, flowing through the whole body, and constructing armor?" Shoo, what an amazing idea. The closed blood circulation system inside the human body is equivalent to a sealing technique, which can keep chakra for a long time. Awesome, how did you think of this? Tsunade's drunkenness disappeared, and her eyes became clear and bright. The more she looked, the more surprised she was. The construction idea of this technique was simply incredible, like a wild imagination, with extraordinary inspiration and creativity. Just as Orochimaru said, this technique would be helpful to her. As Tsunade read, she felt that she could draw inferences from one instance to another, and figured out a lot of doubts about the 100 healings mark forbidden technique that she was studying. Awesome! Orochimaru, before you know it, your ninjutsu level has improved again. You can actually come up with such an amazing technique. After reading the scroll, Tsunade looked at Orochimaru in shock. It's not me. Orochimaru smiled and shook his head. Not you? Tsunade was stunned for a moment, then her eyes widened. Didn't you come up with this technique? That's right, I'm not the master of the technique, I was just asked to help improve it. Orochimaru said with a smile. Tsunade heard this, and a flash of enlightenment flashed across her face. She thought to herself, so you came to me, want me to help improve it? Indeed, the practice of this technique involves a lot of human body knowledge. It's hard to find a safe way to practice without the participation of medical ninjas, and I'm the best medical ninja in the village. Orochimaru didn't say anything, just smiled slightly. Done. Tsunade waved her hand and agreed decisively. She had a feeling that participating in the improvement of this technique called Blood Suit would be very helpful for the development of 100 healings mark. Moreover, Tsunade was also very curious. Who came up with the unique technique of Blood Suit? Episode 5. Let's start creating this technique. Afternoon. In the Nara clan. After lunch, Nara Shintaku went out for a walk to digest his food. This was just an ordinary behavior. But the Nara clan members he met on the way all looked at him with comforting expressions. It's okay, Shintaku. It's difficult to become a disciple of Sannin. Yes, and it's not necessarily your problem. Lord Orochimaru hasn't accepted any disciples for so many years, so he must have other considerations. Don't be discouraged, Shintaku. Nara Shintaku was stunned. Obviously, the family misunderstood something and thought that he met with Orochimaru alone to become a disciple. But Orochimaru stayed for a few minutes and left. In the eyes of the family, this was a failure to become a disciple. Nara Shintaku was too lazy to explain anything and nodded perfunctorily. Seeing this, the clan members showed relieved expressions. It seems that Shintaku didn't immerse himself in failure, but walked out. At this time, a figure came over, surrounded by several Nara tribesmen. It's done, Shintaku. The figure spoke with a hoarse voice and looked at Nara Shintaku. Lord Orochimaru. The tribesmen around were shocked. Nara Shintaku also looked up in surprise, and saw Orochimaru, with pale skin and eyes like snakes, appeared in front of him. Come with me. Orochimaru smiled and said hoarsely. So fast? Nara Shintaku asked in surprise. It went smoothly. Orochimaru nodded. Okay. Nara Shintaku immediately walked towards Orochimaru. The two ignored the tribesmen around them and left the Nara tribe and walked out. This scene. The Nara tribesmen were stunned. They looked at the two people leaving in shock, and it took a long time for them to come back to their senses. What happened? Didn't he fail to become a disciple? Could it be that he succeeded? But, if he succeeded, shouldn't he announce it? Yeah, there's no news at all. Where are they going now? The people of the Nara clan were completely confused. They passed the news to the clan leader and elders, who looked at each other, not understanding what was going on. But Orochimaru would never harm Nara. So they were not worried. Nara suddenly followed Orochimaru out of the clan. But everyone was very curious. What were the two going to do? Senju clan. Orochimaru took Nara and went straight in. Inside the house. Tsunade frowned and thought, staring at the blood-covered scroll in his hand, thinking seriously. Tsunade. Orochimaru called casually. Oh, here they are. Tsunade stopped thinking and looked up. The developer of the blood suit brought. Is it this kid? Tsunade was stunned. What did she see? A kid? Hello, Senior Tsunade. Nara Shintaku walked up and smiled faintly. I am the developer of the blood suit. I am honored to invite you to join the work of perfecting this art. Tsunade was stunned and looked at Nara Shintaku in shock. Black hair, childish face, only 5 or 6 years old, with the Nara clan emblem on his clothes. Is this the developer of the blood suit? Are you kidding? When she was 6 years old, she was still playing in the mud in the yard. No wonder you said that seeing the developer of the art would definitely surprise me. Tsunade looked at Orochimaru speechlessly and let out a long breath. So it's this kind of surprise. She never expected that the developer of the art was actually a child. This is outrageous. Okay, tell me your thoughts. I don't understand this part of the construction. Tsunade waved her hand and asked Nara to sit next to her. Nara was not shy, he walked over and sat down, took a look and started to answer. He was familiar with the blood suit technology. At a glance, it was clear that Tsunade's thinking was stuck. You are too obsessed with the art. The blood armor is not an independent art in essence, but an auxiliary means. The injection into the blood vessels is just for the purpose of blocking, nothing more. After blocking, the effect of chakra itself can build an energy field. The so-called armor is an invisible field. Nara Shintaku paused here and said, you can understand it as Cloud Shinobi's lightning-style chakra mode. They did not directly build the thunder armor, which is too cumbersome, and hundreds of seals are not needed. Instead, the lightning-style chakra is bound around the body and allowed to flow in a certain direction. As long as the energy circulates, a field can be built. Tsunade was shocked when she heard this. Boom! She felt a thunderbolt flash through her mind, and many difficult places suddenly became clear. That's right, she was too obsessed with the art. And ignored the chakra itself. As long as it flows, it will bring effects. Just like the body flicker technique, it only gathers chakra on the feet, and it can double the speed of the ninja without the need for seals. That's enough. The so-called technique is just an additional means to achieve better results. I've learned a lesson. Tsunade covered her head and exclaimed. She had walked into a dead end. At the same time, the 100 healings mark, which had been stuck, also had new inspiration. Episode 6, The Missing Nara Shintaku? You are indeed the developer of this blood-wearing technique, I admit it. Tsunade nodded, looked at Nara Shintaku in amazement, and said admiringly, if you are not the developer, you can't understand it so deeply. She asked just now, of course, she couldn't figure it out. But she also wanted to test him. After all, 6 years old is too incredible. It's not that she doesn't trust Orochimaru, but she can't convince herself. But the answer just now has proved everything. Nara Shintaku is the developer of this technique. Now you believe it, Tsunade. Orochimaru laughed at the side. Shut up. Tsunade glared at him and scolded, you are just deliberately making fun of me. Orochimaru shrugged and smiled without saying anything. Tsunade looked annoyed and wanted to say something. Nara Shintaku quickly stood up and interrupted, okay, since there are no questions, let's get started. Tsunade and Orochimaru both looked a little weird. A little kid actually smoothed things over. First, we need to determine what kind of chakra is suitable for injecting into blood vessels to build an energy field. Nara Shintaku got straight to the point and said, in other words, we need to determine what level of nature transformation can reach the passing line for building an energy field. He didn't want to waste time. There was no point in arguing. With this energy, it would be better to start the research room quickly. Nara Shintaku's template development progress has been stuck for a long time, and it has only increased to 2% after spreading the shadow binding technique. He can't wait to reach 10% and get a new reward. Okay. No problem. Tsunade and Orochimaru agreed, but their expressions were a little weird. This kid is too efficient, right? The temperament of a researcher is almost overflowing. Chakra after nature transformation is difficult to penetrate the blood vessel wall. Tsunade, what's the solution? Then enter the blood vessel and then perform nature transformation? No, the operation becomes much more difficult after entering. It should be changed while entering. The flow rate of arterial blood and venous blood is different. This is a problem which will cause chakra to be unevenly distributed. No, this is not a problem, this is just the division between dynamic blood equipment and static blood equipment. There are too many ninja seals, Orochimaru. This is the first version, first pursue the effect, and then reduce it later. What if the artery ruptures during use? It doesn't matter, the blood will be absorbed by chakra, and not much blood will flow. Nara Shintaku lived directly at Tsunade's house. The three of them devoted all their energy to perfection. As the developer, Nara Shintaku is also the framer of the blood equipment, responsible for explaining the meaning and function of each step. Orochimaru is responsible for realizing them from the level of techniques and hand seals. Tsunade is responsible for risk control. First edition, second edition, third edition. In just 7 days, Orochimaru and Tsunade went back to the furnace and remade 3 times. Nara Shintaku also greatly modified the steps of the framework. Because some steps can be easily solved by spirit particles, but chakra can't handle them, so one step can only be broken down into multiple small steps. It is equivalent to reducing the difficulty to achieve slowly. But some steps are difficult for spirit particles to do, but chakra can do them easily. These steps can be merged. The three of them were fully engaged and completely forgot about time. But in the outside world, because of Nara Shintaku's departure, the Nara clan fell into serious anxiety. Where did Shintaku go? Orochimaru-sama is also missing. 10 days. There is no news at all. This won't do. Shintaku is the treasure of the Nara clan. He can't be abducted like this. Go find the third Hokage. The family elders were anxious. Although I don't think Orochimaru will hurt Nara, he has been gone for 10 days. No news at all. Who wouldn't be anxious? Let's go find the third generation. Nara clan leader decided. Immediately, the clan leader took the lead and went out with several elders to the Hokage's office. In the office, after listening to Nara clan leader's request, the third Hokage was surprised and looked unexpected. 10 days ago, Orochimaru took Nara away? Didn't he accept the child? Why did he take him away again? The third Hokage's mind was confused. His impression was still stuck on the failed apprenticeship 10 days ago. Why does it seem to be successful now? Don't worry, I'll let Anbu look for him. The third Hokage comforted. As a Hokage, he didn't have so much energy to pay attention to the whereabouts of his disciples. So he didn't know what Orochimaru was doing recently. He didn't even know that Orochimaru and Nara had been living in Tsunade's house for the past 10 days, studying ninjutsu day and night. Soon, Anbu came back to report. 10 days ago, Orochimaru took Nara into the Senju clan's territory and never came out. Senju? Everyone was stunned. Why is Senju there? Let's go and see. The third Hokage pondered for a while, stood up and said. Chief Nara and several elders were eager for it. The group left the office and went to the Senju clan's territory. Episode 7, A Level Secret Technique? Or 2? Senju clan land. After learning the purpose of the third Hokage and others, the Senju clan immediately took them to Tsunade's house. Tsunade. Tsunade. Are you in there? The third Hokage knocked on the door directly. After a while, the door was opened, and Tsunade walked out with a tired expression, looking at everyone in surprise, and asked, What's wrong? Is the child Nara Shintaku with you? The third Hokage asked seriously. Yes. Tsunade looked confused. Is there any problem? Hearing this, Nara and others immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Finally found Nara Shintaku. He was taken away by Orochimaru, and there has been no news for 10 days. The Nara family is worried to death. The third Hokage said unhappily, pointing to the head of the Nara clan behind him. Hearing this, Tsunade looked enlightened. It's been 10 days. Third Hokage. Nara and the others. What are you doing? You even forgot the date? Third Hokage asked speechlessly. Haha, I was so immersed in developing new techniques that I completely forgot about time. Tsunade scratched his head and apologized. Developing new techniques? Third Hokage was surprised. Nara and the others also looked surprised. Could it be that Nara had been developing ninjutsu with Tsunade during the 10 days that Shintaku was taken away? Come in and you'll know. Tsunade laughed, and without explaining, let them in. Everyone looked surprised. They put on indoor shoes and followed Tsunade into the house. As soon as they entered the house, everyone's eyes widened in shock. They saw manuscripts all over the room, filling every corner, and they didn't even have a place to stand. Even on the wall, there were all kinds of incomprehensible words written. Nara Shintaku and Orochimaru were writing something in a pile of manuscripts. They are actually developing ninjutsu. The people of Nara murmured, but their expressions were strange. They knew Nara Shintaku's talent. But Shintaku is only 6 years old. Even if he has talent, he is not at the level of participating in your research, right? So, you have been developing ninjutsu with Shintaku for the past 10 days? The third Hokage said in disbelief. He was the most surprised among the people present. Has a genius been born in the Nara clan? He was actually led by Orochimaru to participate in the development of ninjutsu. And it must not be an ordinary ninjutsu. Otherwise, even Tsunade would not be involved. I thought this child failed to become a disciple. The third Hokage said in surprise. Become a disciple? Orochimaru finished writing at this time and laughed dumbly. I guess so, but that's not important. What's important is the jutsu we developed. Hearing this, the third Hokage and the people of Nara became curious. Wait, is it okay for us to listen? Yes, after all, it is the research result of you and Master Tsunade. We will leave first. The people of Nara hesitated and wanted to go outside. But they were stopped by Orochimaru, who smiled and said, "It's okay for you to listen." The original inspiration and framework of this technique were proposed by Shintaku. After that, Orochimaru looked at Nara Shintaku. "Shintaku, as the developer of this blood-wearing technique, you can tell us about it?" Hiss. Everyone took a breath and looked at Nara Shintaku in disbelief. Shintaku is the developer of the technique? He proposed the inspiration and framework? In other words, Master Tsunade and Master Orochimaru, are you helping Shintaku perfect his technique? Orochimaru and Tsunade nodded. The third Hokage's expression changed, and the expressions of the people of Nara also changed. They originally thought that the leader was Orochimaru or Tsunade, and Nara Shintaku was just brought here to learn knowledge and gain experience. Unexpectedly, the leader was the youngest, Nara Shintaku. Can I understand that the technique developed by Shintaku is worthy of your and Tsunade's participation in the improvement? The third Hokage grasped the key point and asked in surprise. Orochimaru smiled and nodded, "That's right, Shintaku is a genius." Tsunade also nodded and smiled. "You can't imagine how shocked I was when I saw the framework of this technique. It's simply a genius idea." The people of Nara were shocked. Shintaku actually received high praise from the second Sannin. The third Hokage's heart was also surging, and he was very surprised. Everyone's eyes fell on Nara Shintaku. At this time, Nara Shintaku also finished writing the scroll in his hand, put it aside calmly, looked at everyone, and said, "I proposed the framework, and Orochimaru and Tsunade perfected it. The three of us worked together to complete this technique, named Blood Suit Technique." Hearing the story, the third Hokage and Nara's people put aside their distractions and listened carefully. Blood suit is divided into two forms, that is, two techniques, namely static blood suit and dynamic blood suit. Either blood suit has an A-level learning difficulty. At the same time, solid medical knowledge and sealing knowledge are required as a prerequisite. Nara Shintaku said slowly. The third Hokage and Nara's people opened their mouths wide. A-level? Or 2? You developed 2 A-level ninjutsu? They looked at Nara Shintaku in disbelief, wondering if their ears were wrong. How rare is A-level ninjutsu? Looking at the 5 hidden villages, even Konoha, which has the deepest foundation, has only a dozen A-level ninjutsu. This is not only the accumulation of more than 30 years since the establishment of Konoha village. It is also the accumulation of dozens of generations of major ninja clans who established the village. Episode 8, Template Progress, 5%. Despite this, only a dozen A-level ninjutsu were born. And B-level ninjutsu is already called advanced ninjutsu. This shows how rare A-level ninjutsu is. It is indeed an A-level ninjutsu. Unlike the excitement of everyone, Nara Shintaku seemed very calm, as if he was talking about something insignificant, and said lightly, "The difficulty of learning the two techniques separately is A-level, and the combination requires more advanced knowledge of sealing techniques, and the difficulty is increased to S-level. The principle is to inject chakra into the blood vessels, flow throughout the body, and form an invisible armor. Among them, the static blood suit focuses on defense and can resist the attack of B-level ninjutsu without injury. The dynamic blood suit focuses on mobility and can increase the strength and speed by at least twice." The third Hokage and Nara's people were stunned when they heard it. The static blood suit can resist B-level ninjutsu without injury, and the dynamic blood suit can increase the strength and speed by twice. The effect of the technique is too strong, right? This is what we have calculated, and there is no actual test, but the effect will only be better, not lower. Orochimaru said on the side. If you want to know whether it is accurate or not, you can find out by asking someone to try it. Tsunade also said. Hearing this, the third Hokage and Nara nodded. The effect of a technique naturally needs to be tested by actual use. Child, you are the leader of this technique, what do you think? The third Hokage looked at Nara Shintaku. Nara Shintaku replied calmly, "I agree with you." He was eager to start the test immediately and then promote the blood-equipped technique. "Well, just ask for the manpower and material resources required for the test, and I will do my best to meet them," the third Hokage said in a deep voice. Hearing these two techniques alone, he couldn't help but look forward to it. The people of Nara had no objection. So, this matter was decided. I'll take a break and go to Umbu to pick someone. Orochimaru directly focused on Umbu. Tsunade nodded and said, "Then take a 3-hour break and come back to me. Then I'll take a nap." Nara Shintaku stood up and said. The three of them acted decisively and started to act directly. The third Hokage and Nara's people were stunned. Why do I feel that I don't fit in with the three people? At night. Umbu base. Orochimaru selected 2 people from a list of personnel. Both of them have certain knowledge of medical ninjutsu and sealing techniques. I'll take these 2 people away. Orochimaru said, throwing out the warrant signed by the third Hokage. Yes. The person in charge checked the warrant and immediately brought the people out. The 2 Umbu were brought to Orochimaru in a daze. There is a secret mission for you too, level A, come with me. Orochimaru glanced at the 2 and walked out. The 2 Umbu followed closely without asking any more questions. They followed Orochimaru to Tsunade's home and were shocked to see a 6-year-old child. Then, under the guidance of this 6-year-old child, they began to practice a technique called blood suit. 1 month later, the 2 Umbu walked out of Tsunade's house, as if they had walked out of a dungeon, and they all expressed their feelings of seeing the light of day again. I'm so tired. It's such a difficult technique, my head is about to explode. The 2 shuddered when they thought of the hellish learning process. The technique called blood suit requires too much prior knowledge. Tsunade is responsible for medical ninjutsu, and Orochimaru is responsible for sealing techniques. The 2 Sannin took turns to feed them, like cramming ducks, stuffing knowledge into their minds. The most terrifying one is Nara Shintaku. This 6-year-old child repeatedly asked them to use the blood suit technique, and would not let them go until they were exhausted every day. He said he wanted to record data. It's too scary, I don't want to do such a task again. Yeah, it's better to kill me. The 2 Umbu made a lingering sound. But anyway. They learned the blood suit technique, one mastered the dynamic blood suit, and the other mastered the static blood suit. Although the hellish steady life made them feel like they were peeling off a layer of skin. But the power they mastered was real. They got an A-level ninjutsu for free. And it was a very practical and powerful A-level ninjutsu. With this blood-equipped technique, the strength of the 2 can even surpass Chunin and reach the level of formal Jonin. At the same time when the 2 finished their studies, Orochimaru and Tsunade also sent a message to the third Hokage, indicating that the actual test could begin. The third Hokage immediately made a decision and set the test time for 3 days later. At Tsunade's home, Nara Shintaku casually lay on the sofa, drinking tea to digest his food. Next to him were Orochimaru and Tsunade. The 3 completed the teaching task and temporarily got some rest time. Current template, Kurotsuchi Mayuri, development progress, 5%. Note, when the template development reaches 100%, the next evil scientist template will be opened. Nara Shintaku opened the system panel. After developing the blood equipment technique and installing it on 2 test ninjas, the development progress has increased from 2% to 5%. Once this technique is spread, it should be able to increase to 10% and get the next stage of rewards. Nara Shintaku nodded in his heart. Episode 9, Blood Equipment Technique Test, Mataku. Tsunade next to him suddenly called out. What's wrong? Nara Shintaku turned off the panel and asked in confusion. I just feel a little emotional. Tsunade showed a complicated look and said, I'm not surprised that you invited the Nara clan to visit the test, but I didn't expect that you even invited the Yamanaka clan and the Akamichi clan. The Inoshikucho 3 families have been allied for generations. Nara Shintaku said indifferently. Hehe, even the same clan will calculate each other, so what does a generational alliance mean? Orochimaru's eyes flickered, and I don't know what he thought of. Nara Shintaku's face was calm, and he just said, at least it's a generational alliance now. Hearing this, Tsunade and Orochimaru both showed complicated expressions. Inviting to visit the test is more than just visiting. This means a qualification. A qualification to learn the blood armor technique for free. Tsunade and Orochimaru could never imagine that Nara would be so generous that he would not only provide the technique to the Nara clan, but also to the Yamanaka clan and the Akamichi clan for free. This is not an ordinary technique. According to Tsunade and Orochimaru's prediction, even if it is a Chunin, if he masters any blood-equipped technique, he will have the strength to threaten the Jonin. It is equivalent to a blood-equipped technique, which upgrades the Chunin to a special Jonin. It is of great value. In the face of such great value, what is the generational alliance? Even blood relatives of the same clan may not teach it. My pursuit is different from many people. Nara said lightly, after a new technology is developed, it is meaningless if it is not promoted. Develop technology, spread technology, and collect data. Then develop new technology, and this positive cycle is what I want to see. Nara's words shocked Orochimaru and Tsunade. This mind and pattern far surpassed them. Even above the Hokage. So, not only can you 2 freely teach this number of blood armor to your disciples, but the 3 families of Inoshikucho can also freely teach it to the next generation. Nara Shintaku paused, and then said, at the same time I will put it in the sealed book and allow all the people in the hidden village to learn it. Of course, the key to combining the dynamic blood armor and the static blood armor into a complete S-level blood armor technique. Nara Shintaku did not release it. Only the Nara clan, Orochimaru, and Tsunade have it. But this is generous enough. Orochimaru and Tsunade both showed admiration. They can't do this. But in fact, if possible, Nara Shintaku would like to directly copy tens of thousands of copies of the blood armor technique and give it away for free throughout the ninja world. But this behavior will cause serious chaos. Because everyone has selfishness. The Nara clan will also have it. Therefore, Nara Shintaku restricted the blood equipment techniques taught to the Yamanaka clan and the Akamichi clan. The Yamanaka clan only obtained the static blood equipment, and the Akamichi clan only obtained the dynamic blood equipment. Only the Nara clan obtained the complete blood equipment technique. Moreover, the static blood equipment and the dynamic blood equipment can be switched by creating a valve in the body through the special 8-sign seal technique. Although the two types of blood equipment cannot be used at the same time. But through the special 8-sign seal technique, they can be quickly switched. This special 8-sign seal is the S-level learning difficulty, and only the Nara clan can have it. Of course, the Yamanaka clan and the Akamichi clan can accumulate merits and exchange them from the seal book if they are willing. Nara Shintaku thought to himself, although I have set restrictions, in essence, the ascending channel is still retained, that's enough. Nara Shintaku looks forward to the test in 3 days. Umbu Base. In a closed training ground. The elders, the heads of the 3 families of Ino Shikacho, gathered together. They received a message 3 days ago saying that there was a newly developed technique with considerable practical value, and they were invited to visit and test it. I heard that it was developed by the children of the Nara family? Child? I have doubts about the value of this technique. The elders exchanged information and shook their heads slightly. They didn't think that a 6-year-old child could develop any powerful techniques. Although Orochimaru and Tsunade participated, adding a child to the mix was unreliable in itself. On the other side, the heads of the 3 families of Ino Shikacho were also whispering. Shikano, what kind of technique is that? Is it amazing that all the elders can come to visit together? Head Yamanaka and Akamichi looked at Head Nara curiously. Chief Nara just smiled and said, you'll know when you see it. Boring. Keeping it a secret from us? Chief Yamanaka and Chief Akamichi curled their lips. But no matter how they asked, Chief Nara didn't reveal a single word. Not long after, the third Hokage and the Sannin arrived. For such an important occasion, Orochimaru and Tsunade naturally invited their partners, Jiraiya, to participate. Nara Shintaku also entered the venue with them. Children nowadays are really amazing. Jiraiya looked at Nara Shintaku frequently along the way and smiled. When I was 6 years old, I was not even proficient in refining chakra. Children nowadays can develop new techniques. This talent is even better than Minato's. Jiraiya was not afraid to exaggerate. Although he was skeptical. Because no matter what, developing a ninjutsu at the age of 6 is too exaggerated, isn't it? And it's an A-level ninjutsu. It took Minato several years to develop an A-level ninjutsu Rasengan. Episode 10, Amazing Actual Combat Effects. Thank you for the compliment. Nara nodded calmly. Jiraiya was stunned when he saw this, and couldn't help but look at Orochimaru. This indifferent and calm look always felt similar to Orochimaru. Don't look, it's about to start. Orochimaru said helplessly. Jiraiya then retracted his gaze. At this time, 2 Umbu with blood-equipped techniques also walked into the venue. All the people arrived. Nara stepped forward and said to the visitors, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to visit this ninjutsu test. The ninjutsu tested this time is called blood-equipped techniques. The total difficulty is S-level, but it can be divided into 2 A-level ninjutsu to be studied separately, namely dynamic blood-equipped techniques and static blood-equipped techniques. Nara talked freely. Others looked strange. They actually let a 6-year-old child be the host? Orochimaru, Tsunade, are you kidding? The elders looked at the 2 Sannin, but they looked calm, as if what was happening before their eyes was reasonable. They looked at the third Hokage again. The third Hokage smiled and looked at Nara with admiration. Why are you so supportive of Nara? Is this kid special? Could it be that this kid has developed a new A-level technique? Everyone had a lot of thoughts in their minds. In the field, Nara continued to introduce, on my left, the ninja codenamed Blue has mastered the blood-moving suit. This technique will increase the strength and speed by at least 1 times after use. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. At least 1 times? Are you serious about this data? Child, be careful when you speak. This is not a place for jokes. The elders frowned. Danzo immediately looked at Orochimaru and Tsunade and asked, have you two reviewed this data? Don't worry, it has been reviewed many times. Orochimaru said with a smile. The actual effect will only be more, not less. Tsunade said with a chuckle. The two of them confirmed it. The elders were surprised, and Jiraiya was even more shocked. The chiefs of the Yamanaka and Akamichi tribes also showed expressions of disbelief. They are all ninjas. They know very well what it means to double the strength and speed. In battle, it is a weapon for fighting across levels. Genin can be used as Chunin, Chunin can be used as Jonin, and Jonin can directly become a meat grinder on the battlefield. On my right, the ninja codenamed Red has mastered the static blood suit. This technique can resist the attack of B-level ninjutsu without injury. Nara Shintaku continued to introduce. How is it possible? Elder Udatane Koharu couldn't help but exclaimed. Everyone's eyes widened. Do you really know the lethality of B-level ninjutsu? How can you resist it without getting hurt? Don't exaggerate. Everyone looked at Nara in doubt. In the field, only Orochimaru and Tsunade remained calm. Although the third Hokage and the Nara clan leader knew it before, they had not witnessed it with their own eyes, and they were still half believing and half doubting in their hearts. Then let's wait and see. Nara said lightly without refutation. After he finished his introduction, he walked to the side. The huge training ground was left to the two ninjas, Red and Blue. Let's start. Nara said softly. Whoosh. The two ninjas, Red and Blue, immediately pounced on each other. One used a knife, and the other used a kunai. The weapons collided and collided, splashing sparks. The battle began, and everyone watched with wide eyes. It started as a normal battle, without using the blood suit technique, but to show the true strength of the two testers. Well, average strength. It is indeed Chunin. Neither of them has touched the level of special Jonin. We understand. After getting confirmation from everyone, Nara Shintaku said to the two, now, use your blood suit technique. Swish. The two people fighting in the field immediately separated. Seal at the same time. Secret technique, still blood suit. Secret technique, moving blood suit. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, a stream of chakra was injected into the blood, flowing throughout the body with internal circulation. These chakras constructed an invisible force field, which was revealed from the surface of the skin of the two people, like a thread of tattoos, and lit up with a blue light. Whoosh. Land speed suddenly increased, directly doubling. He rushed to Hong at an astonishing speed that could not be seen by the naked eye, and punched out with a sound like thunder. Bang! Hong was directly knocked dozens of meters away, crashed through the wall, and shook out an astonishingly large pit. Such speed and power! The pupils of the onlookers shrank suddenly. Even they did not see it clearly just now. So fast. The speed is comparable to the advanced body flicker technique. His power is so terrible that he can actually knock people out so far. Such a punch can directly penetrate Umbu's light armor. Whether it is the elders, the three clan leaders Ino Shikacho, or the third Hokage and Jiraiya, they were all shocked by this punch. It's really too strong. The power of this punch is enough to threaten them. And such a punch was thrown by an ordinary Chunin. In other words, relying on this technique called blood movement, a Chunin can gain the power to threaten Jonin. No matter which hidden village, Jonin are always scarce. But Chunin are plentiful.